You're walking down an empty street at night. Nobody is around. No footsteps. No cars. And yet the hair on your arms stands up. You turn around. Nothing is there. But the feeling doesn't leave. That itch on the back of your neck. That certainty that something is watching you. Where does that come from? Most people assume it's just nerves. A trick of the imagination. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain is running a detection system that is millions of years old, and it is almost never wrong on purpose. Start with a simple fact. Your eyes are not just for seeing. They are for scanning. Every second, without you noticing, your visual system is sweeping the environment for one very specific pattern. 2 dots. Symmetrical. Slightly darker than the surrounding area. That pattern is a face. Or more precisely, it's eyes. And your brain has dedicated an enormous amount of processing power to finding that pattern before you're even consciously aware you're looking for it. Neuroscientist Nancy Canwisher discovered something remarkable about this. There's a region in your brain called the fusiform face area. It lights up almost exclusively when you see a face or even something that resembles one. A wall socket, 2 dots, and a curve. A cloud that looks vaguely human. Your brain doesn't wait to confirm whether it's really a face. It reacts first and checks later. Because in the world your ancestors lived in, hesitation was expensive. If that shape in the bushes really was a predator's eyes, waiting to be sure could cost a life. This is where the story gets older than you might expect. Long before humans built cities, before language, before fire, your ancestors were prey. Not always, not everywhere, but often enough that survival depended on one skill above almost all others. Noticing eyes before the eyes noticed you. Anthropologist Lynn Isbell built an entire theory around this. She calls it the snake detection theory. Her research suggests that primates, including early humans, evolved unusually sharp vision specifically to spot camouflage predators like snakes hiding in leaves and shadows. Not lions, not wolves, snakes. Because snakes don't run, they wait. And waiting predators are the hardest to detect and the deadliest to miss. Isbell found that primates living in regions with more venomous snakes developed better visual acuity in the areas of the brain responsible for detecting subtle shapes and movement. In other words, the more dangerous the hidden threat, the sharper the internal alarm system became. That alarm system didn't disappear when humans stopped living in trees. It came with you, into caves, into villages, into cities, into the empty street you were just walking down. Here's the strange part. That detection system doesn't need an actual predator to fire. It just needs a pattern that resembles one. 2 shadows in a window, a shape behind a curtain, a feeling of eyes on your back, even when your rational mind insists there's nothing there. Your brain would rather give you 100 false alarms than miss one real threat. That's not paranoia. That's a survival strategy so old it predates modern humans entirely. Now think about what happens in a group setting. You walk into a room and immediately sense that someone was just talking about you. Or you feel eyes on you in a crowded space before you consciously spot who's looking. Is that a coincidence? Partly. But partly, it's your gaze detection system running in the background, constantly, silently, cross-referencing every face in your field of view for direction of attention. Researcher Atsushi Senju studied this exact mechanism. He found that humans are extraordinarily fast at detecting where another person's eyes are pointed, even from a distance, even in low light, even out of the corner of the eye. Faster than we can consciously process most other visual information. Why? Because knowing where someone else is looking used to tell you everything. Are they looking at food? At danger? At you specifically with intent? This is where things get uncomfortable in the best way. Psychologist Melissa Bateson ran a now famous experiment at Newcastle University. Her team placed a simple image above an honesty box where people paid for coffee on the honor system. Some weeks, the image was a picture of flowers. Other weeks, it was a picture of a pair of eyes. Nothing else changed. No sainik, no enforcement, just eyes. The results were almost eerie. When the eyes were displayed, people paid nearly 3 times more than when the flowers were displayed. Nobody was actually watching them. It was a photograph. But something ancient in the brain didn't fully register the difference between being watched and being looked at by an image of eyes. The detection system fired anyway. Behavior changed anyway. Think about what that means for you right now in your daily life. You are surrounded by eyes that aren't real. Logos with circular shapes. Car headlights at night. 2 windows and a door that accidentally form a face on a building. Your brain treats all of them for a split second as a potential gaze. And in that split second, before your rational mind catches up and says, relax, it's just a building, something older and faster has already made you feel it. So why does this feeling intensify in certain places? An empty parking garage, a dark hallway, a quiet street at night. Partly it's the obvious reason. Reduced visibility means increased vulnerability. But there's something deeper happening too. In low light, your visual system has less information to work with, so it fills in gaps. And what does it fill those gaps with most readily? Faces, eyes, watching shapes. Your brain isn't malfunctioning in the dark. It's doing exactly what it evolved to do, defaulting to the most survival-relevant interpretation available. There's a term for this broader tendency. Pareidolia, the human habit of seeing meaningful patterns, especially faces, in random or ambiguous stimuli. It's why you see a face in the front of a car. Why toast sometimes looks like it's smiling at you. Why an empty house at night feels like it's watching, even though you know, logically, that houses don't have eyes. But pareidolia alone doesn't explain the physical sensation. The chill, the urge to turn around. That's your sympathetic nervous system responding to a perceived threat before your conscious brain has even finished analyzing what triggered it. Cortisol rises. Heart rate increases. Muscles tense, ready to run or freeze. All of this happens in milliseconds, often before you can name what you're reacting to. You don't decide to feel watched. Your body decides for you, and your mind catches up afterward with an explanation. Which raises an interesting question. If this system is so old, so automatic, so deeply wired into how you process the world, is it really a flaw? Or is it one of the reasons your ancestors survived long enough for you to exist at all? Every generation before you inherited a nervous system tuned toward vigilance rather than calm. The calm ones, statistically, were more likely to be caught off guard. The anxious ones, the ones who turned around at every rustle in the grass, lived to pass that trait forward. You are quite literally descended from the paranoid. That doesn't mean every instinct deserves obedience. Most of the time, in modern life, there's nothing behind you. The street really is empty. The shadow really is just a shadow. But the feeling itself isn't random, and it isn't broken. It's an inheritance, a signal passed down through hundreds of thousands of years, from ancestors who watch the darkness so carefully that some of them are the reason you're here to feel it too. So the next time that chill runs down your spine in an empty room, or you feel eyes on you in a place where logically no one could be watching, don't dismiss it as just your imagination. It's not imagination. It's memory. Not a memory of an event, but a memory written into your biology, passed down from every ancestor who survived by trusting exactly that feeling. You're walking down an empty street tonight. Nobody is around. And when the hair on your arm stands up, you'll know exactly why. Because somewhere deep in the oldest part of your brain, something is still watching for the eyes that once meant the difference between living and not.